Pop in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and it has been a process. But before we start, you need one of these. Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Today is my 10-year anniversary on YouTube. And I put out a few requests out there. I don't usually leave my podcast, What's My Good Cheer, as a comment replay. This is a crew from my Sunday night show, Chatters Live. It has been with me on YouTube. I think it started up a couple of years after I started on YouTube. It took me a while to build up the confidence to come in front of the camera. But when I did, my audience followed me, and we started doing it every Sunday night. So tonight, my What's My Good Cheer crew, I'd like to introduce you to my Chatters Live. Here we have Andrew. He is one of my moderators here. He is from Bloomington, Indiana. Indiana. From Bloomington, Indiana. He is a dear friend of mine, and truly I can say a dear friend of mine. I wish I was as good a pen pal to him as he is to me, but I am, right? Got a little surprise for you going out next week, Andrew. You're the first one in those postal issues that we had over Christmas. If you don't know, I'm Cindy. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And we just come out of a postal strike. So we have got some parcels to send out this year. I do consider my audience, the people who follow my content, right? And hang out with me, as Melvin would call it, to yibber yabber and listen to what I have to say. It's in that thoughtfulness sometimes that, knowing that it takes all kinds to make the world, that I could be a unique in what I do and still make friends out there. And Andrew is one of them. The parcel won't be there anytime soon. I'll give you the heads up, Andrew, when I send the parcel out, so you can keep track of it. But in the meantime, right, hopefully I will get a letter, right, shortly afterwards. We weren't even able to send out Christmas cards this year. We, as the public, were truly held for ransom, weren't we? We were held hostage in a bid to achieve a goal. This is my 10-year anniversary, you guys. When I first started here 10 years ago, it was something fun to do. It was something that helped me come alive after I had spent some time crying, talking, and again the time to get out of that slump that I was in when my marriage fell apart. I started YouTube. And if you guys don't know, tonight we're going to have a little bit of reminiscing. Hopefully you guys can come up with some of those stories, hopefully not so embarrassing, where I stepped my foot in, whether it was an outdoor explore or an indoor explore. If it impacted you anyway, just pop in and to the comments and let me know. I first started on YouTube because I was looking to bring some joy into my life. And I was on the internet, and I was already in my 50s, and that really wasn't the norm back then. The digital age was something new. It was for the young ones, it was for the teenagers, it was for the gamers. It wasn't a place to, right, for people my age to hang out. Now it's the norm, right? People of all walks of life are creators on YouTube now, right? And sometimes it just takes a few to get that ball rolling, and those will follow, right? But there were so many gifts in, well, starting that YouTube channel to start with was giving myself that permission to find a place, to find something in my life that was all mine, and creating a YouTube channel where I could apply myself in my spare time, and with the possibility of becoming a YouTube superstar. And that being a YouTube superstar to me didn't mean adulations and, that idolism that you think of. For me, it felt like I was being seen, right? It also made me have something that was all mine. And if it failed or it succeeded, it was going to be all because of me, right? It was something that belonged to me. I worked my YouTube. I'm grateful. Well, I'm not saying I'm grateful I live in a province with lots of abandoned houses, but I have to say those abandoned houses were saved. They were reminiscent of a time passed by in the digital age, and filming and stuff was fairly new. And I got in there and I caught what was left of these, lots of times tongue and groove log homes that were from the very first pioneers, the very first settlers to Canada. And I caught some of these places before they actually hit the ground. I was able to do research because I love the history. I was able to get in and research the houses, research the communities, and I really got into what I was doing, how much I loved my channel. I was thriving in it. There were gifts in that. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Andrew Owen. Thank you so much for popping in. Again, you guys, this is another one of my moderators. If you guys choose to pop in and say hi, these are amazing couple of guys, and they have been with me literally almost for a decade, right? All through my pivots. If you guys knew what past couple of days that I had gone through needlessly, because I said, here I am. I said I was going to work on a video and I was going to reminisce a little bit. But in that pushback, I found all kinds of little disasters happening in my life where my hard drive was corrupted, that motivation was not there. I had a job that was requesting and needing my extra attention in hours applied to my job. I had projects around the house. I had Christmas and New Year's and Canada Post strikes to deal with. It has been a season, hasn't it? For all of us, I think it has been a little bit a season. Joys in that for sure. Gifts in that for sure. In those past 2 days, I put myself in a frenzy, and I thought to myself, this is ridiculous because I can't even think clearly. I can't even think calmly because I'm in such a frazzle as to what to do. And I says, well, how do I come out of that frazzle that I've gone ahead and put myself in? I put myself in, right? And I'm thinking, well, stop putting yourself in the frazzle. If it happens, you're going to give it a little bit of attention. If it works for you, amazing. If there's that pushback in there, you're just going to adapt and you're going to conquer and you're going to find another way. You're not going to give up, right? You're not going to give up. You're not going to cave in, and you're not going to say, "Oh my goodness, it was the fates," or right? This is the way it's supposed to be, until there is no more other solutions to resolve a problem. You keep looking for solutions. If you can't find that solution after giving it some time, giving it some effort, then you don't cry over spilt milk and you move on. You make a choice, right? Take a different route, right? Because change will come about and you'll find a way because you are that person who adapts and conquers. This is what I'm saying to myself, right? 5 minutes before I went live tonight. I'm getting all my stuff ready on my desk. Well, it wasn't 5 minutes before I went live. 5 minutes before I went live, I brought myself down. But for the hour before I went live, I was searching my house for my 54 powerful words, you guys. I was searching my house. I had no idea. I did so much work today to feel good, right? To get ready, to find some inspiration and motivation and to be inspired. I just wanted to be with myself and just to be know that everything was going to be okay if I didn't have a video tonight. And I don't have a video tonight. I don't, right? But what I did do in all those projects today is I found all all of my memory cards, you guys. All of my memory cards and sticks, memory sticks. Oh my goodness, look at this. This is 10 years of content, okay? You go, what the hell is all that? Now you just buy storage in the cloud and all of this stuff is up there forever. But I have got all of this and I am so glad I never destroyed it. But when I first started on YouTube, we put everything onto little drives. And do you guys remember these? Like, I even have a slot here on my computer. Do people even use them anymore? I don't know, but this is where all my content is. All of it, all of this stuff is here. I didn't lose it. Now, a lot of it is corrupted, just like that main hard drive that I tried to do a 10-year anniversary video out of, right? But I looked around, I found all these today, but doesn't serve me right in this moment. But for the future, it most definitely will, because I am going to find a way get this all up into my Google Drive for sure, because I've got a lot of RAM, I bought a lot of storage. There's no reason why I should stress or worry about where my content is, that it's all available. And because I am such a Google girl, because it's not just the content for my YouTube brand. I was doing my diaries, you guys, right? Video diaries. I was doing Google diaries, and all of those have been uploaded. All obviously all private. That's all Cindy stuff, right? Right? Because it was crazy town. The process was crazy town. But I've got it all, and that's what's important, right? Right? That I have that I didn't lose it, that we can adapt, we can conquer. Here I am. We are celebrating, and thank you so much, and Happy New Year. Do you still use those flash drives, Owen? Oh, awesome. No, don't say Sharon's here. Sharon's here. Oh my goodness, I haven't talked to Sharon in so long. Oh my goodness, what a night for you to show up, Sharon. Happy New Year. Today is my 10-year anniversary on YouTube. 10 years on YouTube. Can you believe it? Now I'm going to try and focus on those 10 years of reminiscent, and I'm hoping anybody who is thinking of possibly starting a YouTube channel, right? Or somebody who has a YouTube channel and is thinking about quitting, or is just struggling really hard in their lives, that maybe, right, just in watching this one video, it might give you a little bit of motivation, a little bit of inspiration into not to quit on yourself, right? To never give up. I did not start this channel for money, right? The adulation, right? Was something personal to me, right? In stepping my foot in somewheres where I wasn't comfortable, and that was being seen, right? I was taught not to be heard, but I was very obese for most part of my childhood, teen years, adulthood, um, extremely obese. Got well into my 300. We're talking pounds, 300 pounds that I got myself into. I couldn't help but be seen. I couldn't hide. I couldn't go behind a tree, right? Couldn't hide in an outfit. Couldn't stand up against the wall. I couldn't walk down a hallway. I couldn't even get up from a chair. I couldn't get up first. I couldn't get lost in I couldn't. I've been seen all my life, right? Not to be heard, well, that was my choice, right? It was part of that upbringing that I had, not to be not to be seen, right? Not to be heard, but they couldn't help that I was seen, but they could make it so that I couldn't be heard. As I grew up, right? Uh it was a different story. I adapted, I conquered, I always found ways, and I made a wonderful, amazing life for myself, full of stresses, full of heartbreaks, full of limiting beliefs, full of self sabotage, but full of fun, full of friends, full of good hearts. And, it was in my choices if I had people in my life that weren't so good. There were lessons in that too. We don't learn when life is all nice and easy and is given out to us. Right? We don't learn too much. It is in those struggles, it's in those difficulties that we learn to be experts, right? Just like maybe Andrew in taking care of his brother, that you learned a lot about the system, right? That Andrew has become a little bit of a expert. What about Sharon and her passionate views on, well, the government? Glad Sharon wasn't in during all the elections and stuff. Oh my goodness, I can imagine Sharon's blood just boiling over. Make Nancy look like like a 1-year old in those passions for politics, right? But we become experts in what stirs us up, right? What messes us up, what trips us up, as long as we don't give up. If we just keep getting up and trying again, maybe we won't get it perfect, but maybe we'll learn one thing from that experience, and that one thing is the right thing. And that was kind of how it worked with me in YouTube. People look at my channel and goes, oh my goodness, right? You start your YouTube channel, and right, and you think that it's going to take you 10 years to get to how many subscribers do I have? 3,000, just over 3,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And I've been pretty consistent in showing up. I've pretty much been showing up every week, if not every day, here on YouTube that entire time. So it wasn't a consistency. It was in the pivoting. It was in the content that I was sharing. It was in not stopping at where I was at. It was in the movement forward, because I was always changing and I was trying to categorize myself in one category, right? I must have pivoted 3 or 4 times in my content, but in my own life, I pivoted many more times than that. And that shows that I stayed in that same content and that same categories for maybe a little bit longer than I should have. And I was with a good crew too, right? That motivation, that inspiration that came in to save the day when 3 years in, we're at 10 years now, but 3 years in to starting my brand, I started struggling. Everything was crashing. Oh my goodness. I couldn't hold on to a job. I had no money, right? Couldn't buy camera gear. I was so passionate about my YouTube channel. It was my life. It was the only thing I could concentrate on, right? And I thought my life was falling apart, but it was actually falling apart in a good way. And I didn't even realize it until I was 57 years old. I started my YouTube channel in 2014 on Christmas Eve. I was 53 years old. I do believe a lot of this process that I've gone through in the past half a dozen years has only been what I remember. But I think it's been going on for quite a while, even before that, that I didn't recognize it, that I picked up the breadcrumbs and the serendipities and the little clues along the way that said, follow me. And, kind of found my way around. I found the right people to motivate me, to inspire me. I even went on workshops and seminars right, to keep me going. I was pulling on strings that were just dangling, anything that would save me. And it was saving me. It was the motivation and the inspiration. And I just found that the content that I was sharing was just slowly changing. It wasn't pivoting, but it was slowly changing as I was changing myself. Those big pivots was when I wasn't fast enough, or I needed that extra little bit of boot in the butt. There's Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Oh my goodness. Happy New Year. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's so amazing to have the Chatters crew in here, you guys. It is absolutely amazing. And if you've never been in to one of the Chatters live that I have on Sunday nights, you should pop in. You should come in and join us. We are an amazing crew. We have some heavy topics during the week, but on Sundays, we do try to keep it light, right? We spend the time in conversation and getting to know each other, on shining on each other, right? It's going to be in our communities, right? That we are going to be able to move forward. So, in my 10-year anniversary. That's good you got here. We were just getting wound up because I did a little bit of desk house cleaning today. You will not believe some of the amazing content that coincidentally came across my path on my 10-year anniversary. I had no intention of cleaning out my book cupboard here, but I was looking for my memory sticks, and I found all my memory sticks, Karen, for the past 10 years of YouTube content. And it's just not the videos from my YouTube content, but I'm also top 10% of provincial park Google guides, right? With Google Maps. And I do believe I've hit 10 million views on my YouTube. Oh, sorry, not my YouTube channel. I'm at 700,000 views on my YouTube channel though. I do believe I've got my stats sitting right here. Let's look at some stats, you guys. I have had 712,000 views on my channel in the past 10 years. 712,000. You can't even get that into a concert stadium, can you? It's pretty scary when you look at it like that. 700, that's almost a million. We're only 300,000, right? Views away from a million. I've got 60,000 hours, right? Lots of my videos were longer. I always try to keep my videos, right, for 15 minutes or more. Lots of my videos are over an hour, 45 minutes, but 60,000 hours, right? 60,000 hours. And in those 10 years, I have had 3,300 subscribers. Amazing. So grateful. And you'd have to say, I don't have more than, say, 50 or 100 that are consistently popping in, if that, into my channel, maybe into the outdoor adventures, but into the lives and stuff. It's pretty easy to keep count and who's coming forward to kind of hang out with me. And that's amazing because those are my diehards. Those are the people that are hanging out with me, even if they don't get me. And that's what's so amazing about what I do. That's what's so amazing about my crew because, right, I have pivoted so much. I've gone from urban exploration to bushcraft videos, safety videos. Oh my goodness, I can't even think of everything. The Walk with Me, Cindy Jean videos, my Ontario provincial park, my my Ontario tour videos that I do every year. I haven't forgotten. Got to tell my goals for today. They've been written down. I haven't even changed them. They're exactly the same as what I wrote them when I got back from my trip, but I did include one thing on one of the possibilities of my goals. We are working on one of those goals getting done starting next week. Taking care of myself, taking care of my basic needs are those most important things. And for you guys, your basic needs, right? To make sure that you have everything and you need before you start giving it all away, right? And that's what I didn't realize, that I was just giving everything away and just running on fumes. And you'd look at me and you go, well, why would you do that? Why would you crush yourself and just keep going, even if you don't see the benefits of what you want to bring to the table? Well, that's because in my personal life, I've seen the benefits of what this brand has brought to the table for myself. And this is going to be the biggest gift that I could give to anybody out there who is considering starting a YouTube channel. For those who hang out here with me on Chatters Live, and this is the crew for my Chatters Live on Sunday night, they know I was a compulsive gambler, right? I was addicted to gambling for over 20 years. It was really, really bad. Once my marriage fell apart, it was how I coped. It's how I dealt with the sadness, and it's how I coped with, while I would like to say not being able to hold on to a job, but it was the fact that I was gambling that I couldn't hold on to a job. I was a compulsive gambler. I was a gambling addict. And I picked gambling because it was in my family. My mom gambled, my dad gambled. My mom gambled because my dad gambled, right? My sister's also a gambler. They like gambling also. It is in our epigenetics, these addictions, right? And addictions are addictions. So it could have been anything, but I was emotionally attached to gambling because my dad gambled and I was emotionally attached to my father who was the greatest soul I had ever known, right? I don't believe I would have made it as far as I did, even into my adulthood, if it was not for my father. But then again, without my father, I wouldn't have been around anyway. So in the end, it all worked out the way it was supposed to work out. And that's one thing that I do recognize, right? Because, like, remember what I said a little while ago, that when this process first started for me, it just started. I wasn't even aware of what was going on. What led me into being a YouTuber? What made me pivot and make all those little changes in my life that led me to mindset, that led me to inspiration and motivation, to inspire me to keep my channel going, that my channel had replaced my addiction to gambling, and YouTube had become my addiction, right? At that point, I wanted to put a roof over my head, right? It was no longer being YouTube superstar. It was, how do I make this my living? How do I make it so I could live the good life, that I don't have to worry about my bills. I don't have to worry about losing my apartment, that I don't have to be under other people's thumbs, that I could be my own person. How can I do this? I'm going to be a YouTube superstar, right? And so I pivoted in my brand, right? I explored the outside, but now I was exploring the inside too. And I have no idea how that worked out, because it worked out without even me knowing that it was happening. Next thing I know, right? Hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And that was the beginning of my live shows. And I didn't quite get that, right? I got the outside, but getting the inside, it was different for me, because it was what I was delving into without understanding. I needed to understand, because I knew it was my limiting beliefs that was stopping me from achieving some of these goals. So I start goal setting, right? I delved into mindset because I wasn't super religious, because lots of times in my life I cried out to God, right? Lots of times. Lots of us do, right? Sometimes we don't recognize or see when we're being answered to. For myself, I didn't recognize that those other parts of me were on the ride with me, and I was crying out to them to help me. And they were just kind of surfing those waves alongside me, right? Slowly, slowly, slowly. Few lessons under the belt, a little bit of time in Mother Nature, a little bit of motivation and inspiration and understanding about limiting beliefs, and understanding about controlling behaviors and self sabotage, and learning about narcissism, and learning about what an empath is. And I call it an empath, but you could call it a highly sensitive, right? You could call it, there's a few terminologies, and that's what really tripped me up, was in the terminology, because depending on the culture, depending on the religion, right? It would be, even in psychology, they would have different terminologies for these. But this is what I resonated with. But in the end, the lessons were the same, right? It's just in how they were presented and how they were digested. And for me, I digested it in mindset, because of all those times that I cried out, and right, there was nobody there to save me except for me, not recognizing that those other parts of me were there with me too, right? Doing their best, but I wasn't paying attention. I was in so much frenzy, so much stress, so much worry, so much fear, that those other parts of me didn't even have a chance of surfacing. It was my love and my joy and my perseverance and my mindset. And that's the truth. That slowly opened me up to new things, to never giving up. That even if I failed myself, even if I didn't get it, even if I was moving blindly, at the very least, I was still moving. It was impossible for me to move backwards because I recognized absolutely everything backwards. I recognized and remembered absolutely everything. There was no way for me. As long as I kept moving, I was moving forward. Tonight, I'm going to pull a card, you guys. Might pull two cards in relation to my 10-year anniversary. It's kind of what I asked for today, right? When I was thinking it in my contemplation, I thought, wouldn't it be neat? Because it has been neat and it has been kind of led up in the past couple of times that I have pulled cards where the same card was pulled twice. The coincidence in that is incredible considering well, I was using my angel cards at the time and there's 72 of these cards, right? Considering there were 72. Well, there was only 60 because I found some of those cards in another container, to be honest. But to pull that card twice in one sitting and only pulling two cards, and both those cards were the same cards, right? And we had that word community pulled twice last week. I found it very curious. And these are the things that I have to read into, right? Because those other parts of me express themselves a little bit differently than I do. And so I have to appreciate that. And in this new word I learned only a few weeks ago, discernment. It took so much weight off of me. It took so much. And it's what brought me back yesterday to even keeling myself out because I was stressing myself out. I was putting myself in that frenzy. I was going 100 miles an hour. I was trying to figure out how to get that video for my 10-year anniversary posted tonight. It was an impossible task. But why was I chasing an impossible task, like it was a possible task? It wasn't the task, it was the frenzy. It was the frenzy that I had put myself into. If I was calm, right? Like I said, I put myself in a frenzy an hour before I came live tonight. Searched all over my head, all over all over my house for this deck that I put together, my 54 powerful words. Couldn't find it. I looked everywhere. All that work today I did, it's a little bit of a disaster right now because I pulled everything out looking for it and I knew I had them. They were here this morning. I didn't know what. And I said, that's my pushback for tonight, right? Because they know I'm going to have something to say in my 10-year anniversary. There has to be a gift, right? Not just showing up, but there's going to be a gift, right? I need my cards. And I thought, 1 second, it just took 1 second. I says, oh, Cindy, you need to go through the garbage bag. So I pulled out a garbage bag and I pulled off coffee grinds and eggshells because I made poached eggs for breakfast. And right, it was digging through the garbage. And what was there? My deck of 54 powerful words. They were in a sandwich bag, so they weren't dirty or anything. But whew, what if I had taken out my garbage? I would not have jumped in that bin and I would have had to do these cards again. And it wasn't the fact that I had to do the cards again. It was the fact that I really wanted to pull cards on my 10-year anniversary. Because as we move forward in whatever I bring to the table, right, these 54 powerful words won't be too far behind, right? These are going to ground me from going too far off to go when I go off, to go off, like, because I like to go down those side branches, right? But not everybody likes to go down those side branches. And I just scoot down them like they're nothing. And then I get lost. And then I bring back whatever I find or whatever I discovered or whatever I've experienced. And you're all looking at me like crazy town, right? You guys don't do that. You don't do that. And I am grateful for that, right? Which makes me so amazed that after all these years that you're still with me, right? Like all of you. Like, what was the odds that we would have Sharon tonight? Sharon, did you know that I was having my 10-year anniversary tonight? Did you know that I was, because I'm just so honored and so amazed and full because you're here, because you played into my journey, right? You're part of my story, Sharon. Yeah, very interested. In Hanner's here. Hello, Hanner. Yeah, amazing. Like every single one of you have played a part in my story. Oh, you like my brother-in-law has a band. They play in the bands all the time, Hanner. Yeah, he's a guitarist too. I got him a guitar coffee mug and a guitar. Oh, I can't even remember what I got him. I got him a couple of cool things anyway. But nice to have you here. Isn't that amazing that this was the day that you showed up, Sharon? Isn't that cool? I mean, there is the coincidence too. It is New Year's. It is New Year's, so maybe it came across your path. But what are the odds, right? New Year's, you could have been sitting at home having another turkey day with your son. And by the way, Sharon, how is your son? How is your son? And how have you been doing? Melvin's here, and Cindy is yibber yabbering. He calls it yibber yabbering or chattering, or yeah. We're going to pull a card for my 10-year anniversary, and I'm gonna first perspective in whatever aspect it is. That it is in its relationship to my 10-year anniversary. I was sitting here. I only had an hour, so some of them do have the insights written down on them. But I went into panic. I went into panic when I couldn't find my my cards, and that was the end of it. But we're on them now. We're on them now. I want to get a new felt marker, a nice one. Yeah. So Andrew, if you got a good suggestion for me, I was using a black Sharpie, and it's writing very good. I might stick with it. Yeah, just get another writer Sharpie. Not the thick ones, but one of those ones, nice pen ones, and I will continue to use them. Okay, you guys, let's pick a card here, and then I'm going to shoot you guys what my goals are for this year. Okay? And then I'm going to tell you a story, and maybe I'll tell you the story first. Or maybe we could tie the card up with that. Wouldn't that be neat if we could tie the card, the shirt? Yes, my shirt. Yeah. And the past 10 years together. Here we go. The word we have is acceptance, you guys. Isn't that amazing? That's all I've ever been looking for. And I was looking for that tie, that bow, that little presentation piece before you send it off to somebody or before you closed it down, right? What this YouTube channel was all about. It was to find a place where I could feel truly accepted, because I never truly felt accepted anywheres in my entire life. And to be a part of the YouTube community was one thing, because most definitely I am part of that YouTube community. I'm here 10 years and I'm consistent. And even though that content in this moment isn't at that level, possibly that YouTube would have expectations for me to be at, right? I'm still monetized. I have all those gifts. I have my analytics. I have all the training that I possibly could want. I have all the insights in the YouTube lessons from the great thought leadership that is out there. It's all still being offered to me. I'm not being excluded because I'm a slow learner, right? And in that possibility that maybe I'm not so slow, maybe I'm just different. And maybe because I do have that acceptance about myself, right? I've told that analogy. It is an analogy. It's a great analogy for me. The analogy of the two types of monkeys, right? Two different types of monkeys. Let's call it an orangutan and a chimpanzee. Okay? Two two apes, and they mate and they have a baby, right? The chimpanzee will reject that baby, right? But the orangutan will also reject that baby, right? The only hope for that baby in community, right, is in that hybridation again, in that assimilation, amalgamation of two different species, right? And that's the way I felt, that I've been just so rejected by everybody. I just looking for my own community. And so in pulling this card, acceptance, this is the reason. Acceptance, that's the word we got. It's the reason for me to be on YouTube, right? Is to find my place, to find my people, right? To find friends, to find people who mirror back the understandings that I have, right? Or to have that revelation of how truly in the middle I really am, because right, that's, I believe, the next stage of evolution. Every stage of evolution has been uh, um, a majority of assimilation, amalgamation. It is. It's why I have to move with the majority, because that's the survival, right? Of course, we're not going to have the minority unless it's a meteor or a volcano that sets off that makes it so that there's only a couple hundred human beings around, right? How accepting would I be at that point, right? It would be, right? Because that would be the only way that you would survive. It would be the only way that I would survive. And you can guarantee I would adapt and conquer. And I would be popping out babies. Well, maybe not now at this age, but if that technology was there, right? If that technology was there, like it is now, right? But yeah, I'm not popping out any babies. But see, in this, they call it neurodivergent. It's different thinking is what it is. A lot of people who are autistic or mildly autistic, if you don't know what that is, it just means you think differently, right? But lots of times, and this is funny that I'm saying this, because I have one of my customers came into the store. I might have mentioned him before because I found him very interesting. And he came in and he was shamed because he was told he was creeping people out, and he was just eccentric, right? He likes his books. He comes in, he talks about books, and he talks about his wife. comes in the other day and he's got his son with him. And you can tell that his son has some issues, like he's slow, right? He has obviously some emotional or mental issues, and these are handicaps. We have all got handicaps. But he was very sweet. He was an adult already, probably 20, 25 years old. But he was very young mind. He had a very young mind, and I carried on a conversation with him. I introduced myself. He introduced himself. I was very surprised because he didn't even mention that he had a son, let alone an autistic son. And I went, oh my goodness, is it possible that I can have some autistic traits in me, right? And it doesn't have to be to the extreme, but because of all the levels, and I hear that there are lots of people out there who are artistic and have never ever had it diagnosed. And one of the main characteristics of being autistic is in this different thinking, right? These are the neurodivergents. These are the ones who are always right. You can call them other things again, cultures, religions, politics, right? You can label everything the same, but we tend to label the same thing, all different kinds of things. And that's what the confusing thing is in the labeling. It's why I have a problem with a lot of the personality disorder diagnosis, right? Because especially in my family, my mother was a narcissist. My father was a highly sensitive empath. Like those two normally do not hook up, right? Not for any great length of time without devouring each other, and they did a little bit, right? But how can anybody say that I would be exactly like my mother, right? When I separated from my mother very, very early, or how could I be exactly like my father when a lot of the time he just wasn't around, right? That I was left to the demise. So I picked up traits from both sides, from what I felt was abusing me, and my savior, the one that nobody would try anything as long as he was near. And I became, that's where my codependency comes from, right? And I have to be careful about that. And I've been very good about that. And that's the thing about being on YouTube for 10 years. These are all things that I picked up along the way. And because of my way of thinking, right? It wasn't difficult to delve in to have these conversations, right, with myself, right? Have these conversations with myself to feel these ideas out, to say, hey, is this possibly what's going on? But again, in that labeling, you can really mess yourself up because you think you're one way, but in actuality, you're in another way because you chose differently, because there was something else to choose. And that's not always the case with people, right? I'm very grateful that I had my father in my life, right? Um, it saved me in the end, right? But in the difficulties of those dynamic relationships that I didn't understand caused me a lot of problems, right? Because of the labeling and because of the power dynamics. Let's call that the power dynamics, because I could clearly see there was at least three of them in my own family. My sister Tracy, my father, and my mother. And all three of them thought they were running the show. All three of them thought they were boss, right? Maybe all three of them were in their own right. Okay, you guys, let's come into the comments for a few minutes and give Cindy a break in this Cry out to a minor on a, okay, that's where we left off. No, I left off with Sharon saying she just happened onto my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. Chinwagon. Oh my goodness. Chinwagon. No, that's not a good one. I hope everybody had an amazing new year. I hope everybody has set out for a couple of goals, because what I was saying about my YouTube channel, I was a compulsive gambler. I gambled for over 20 years. My YouTube channel saved me from gambling. The one time I cried out to God, please, I don't want to gamble anymore. It's destroying my life, right? Destroyed my marriage. It put me in a negative state. It turned me into a liar, right? Because I'd have to figure out ways how to cover up how I spent my money. I'd have to juggle my house bills. Oh my goodness, it was a terrible experience. And YouTube, it took me away from gambling. I have not, as much as this is my 10-year anniversary, you guys, this is my 5-year anniversary of no gambling, not even a lottery ticket. I gambled a lot for the amount of money that I brought in, for somebody who relied on the system, for somebody who couldn't keep a job more than 6 weeks or 6 months, right? I just didn't care, right? My marriage fell apart. I didn't care about anything. It took me a long time to come back. And YouTube was just the perfect form for me. It offered so many gifts. And like I said, that movement was happening for a good part of it before I even recognized. But once I recognized, and because I'm so good at being able to go backwards, right? That I can go backwards and I can see where I made all my missteps. And I made lots of them. But I'm not the only one who made missteps. Lots of people did. And there's got to be forgiveness in that. There's got to be some resolution in that. There's got to be some separation from some of that. And there's got to be some, dare I say it, hope for some of that, right? Because I see the movement. As much as I'm in the middle, my 3 sisters are in the middle too, right? And I see the good, right? And I get bit every once in a while. But you know what? I'm a big girl. And if I need to bite back, I will bite back. And I have bitten back, right? And whether I feel guilt and shame in that, or if I feel sometimes courageous because I held my ground, right? Because I stood up for myself, because I didn't allow myself to be mistreated. And that's the way I looked at it. Okay, you guys, where are my goals? There were a few oh, my story. What was the story I going to tell? I was going to tell a story. You guys, I was going to tell a story. And I had a few stories ready to go. Oh my goodness, and I've been shuffling these cards around too in the acceptance. Yesterday, I accepted I was not going to get that video uploaded. I accepted that. When I accepted it, the moment I accepted it, there was such a great release of like that. You know that feeling, don't you? That's a great feeling. It's over, right? That's what I felt yesterday when I realized that I wasn't going to get that video done. I said to myself, okay, so starting now, we'll just be in reflection and we'll just see what comes to us. We're going to go live tomorrow, right? It just might work out a little bit better if we go live because maybe I could spend that time in making a little bit of points list, which I didn't do. I was too busy cleaning out cupboards. But it was so neat how I was coming by little things that just reminded me of the past 10 years. This was something that I came across in an antique store, or not an antique store, in a thrift store. And it's a daily register for public school here in Manitoba. The date for this, listen to this, is 1919. And this is the school register of all the students that were in this class. And it's the entire year register, every name of every student, the attendance for each one of them during the course of the year. There were no little side notes. I was kind of hoping for little side notes. But the only side notes that I could get was concerning the weather, how cold it was. You know, you hear your mom and dad say, you guys are always complaining. I walked 6 miles at 40 below zero, right? These are the kind of things that were put into this book. And you could always tell in the attendance when these really cold days were because there were no attendance. I mean, you didn't get to take a bus to school, did you, in the 1919, right? Quite possibly you were walking 6 miles to go to school every day. In the late 1800s, your education was not as important, right? But that survival, right? That survival that we do, that adapt and that conquer, and that idea of having a piece of land that belonged to just you. If you were willing to put the work into it, if you were willing not to give up, that every time that you fell on your knees, that you would get up and brush your knees off, right? Every time that you broke your tractor or burned the barn down or caught the house on fire and caught it just in time, right? You learned something, right? Learned how not to do that. You learned a better way. You learned how it was done, right? You learned a new product. You learned to build something. You learned to run something. You're still learning, right? My mother only went to grade 7 and her common sense was through the roof. And when I say I'm in the middle, I do have most of my father's qualities. I am my father's daughter, but most definitely I recognize my mother's gifts and my mother's strengths, and I will take those, right? If I have to take the other things she gave me, I'm taking the good stuff too. And that's the way I think about it, right? But this just puts me back to exploring those one room schoolhouses. I just went straight there, straight into the reflection. And it is the stories that we tell each other. It's the passing along of the history. We're in this day and age right now, the digital age, where we are solidly documenting, right? Everything, right? We don't know what went on. We can barely read hieroglyphics. We barely know what's been going on 5,000 years ago. Yet humans have been on Earth in some form or another. A million years, right? Homo erectus. You can't even get DNA out of Homo erectus anymore. It's just too deteriorated now. But could you imagine if we could, right? Okay, before we lose track, I want to pull one more card before I tell you what my goals are for next year, okay? We'll end this 10-year anniversary live at 9 o'clock. So we have 20 minutes, you guys. I want to say thank you to all of you for hanging out with me for as long as you did. And I know all of you here, and I know all of you have been with me for at least 5 years that are in right now in the comments, not to say in the live. And for those of you who pop in later, I hope you get something out of this, right? Because I got so many gifts out of being on YouTube, for making it so important in my life, for allowing myself to be addicted to something that served me well, right? Rather than being addicted to that stupid, idiotic, right? And only one of many addictions that I've had to overcome, right? And I'm still overcoming. But I've come to realize that sometimes you just let it go and just recognize it for what it is. And once you recognize it, and once you move into something else, and once your attention goes into that other thing, once your money goes into something else, once your time goes into something else, right? You will let go of what doesn't serve you, what has been holding you back, right? Sometimes what's holding you back is actually what's pushing you. It's pushing up against you, right? Saying you're not going forward. You're not going anywhere. You're staying right where you are. You have to think about it, right? Contemplation. I did a lot of it in the past 2 days. I was disappointed in myself. I truly was disappointed in myself, though it wasn't my fault that my hard drive was corrupted, right? But that's something I could have noticed a couple of months ago, knowing that my 10-year was coming up. And there was lots of moments in those past 6 months where I was looking to be distracted into something else. I'm grateful I have interests, other interests besides my YouTube, so that when I do get distracted in what I'm supposed to be doing, at the very least, I'm being distracted in something else that will serve me a little bit, right? I still believe in my channel, right? I still believe in myself, right? And I think, and I'm optimistic, you guys wouldn't be here either if you guys didn't believe in me too, right? It's how we treat ourselves and how we treat others that we're going to learn to be better human beings, right? It's how we're going to moved into the next stage of evolution and not be bothered and not be worried about what's going to be coming along, because it's going to be in our choices, right? And some of us are in the process. Some of us aren't even going to make those choices, but those choices have already been made, and we're going to find that we're just going to be moving into it anyway, right? Because you got through it. I'm not going to say sleeping, because that's the terminology I use for the people that are playing video games, that maybe they'll get through it too, but they'll just get through it asleep because they're just in the games, right? That they don't see the hairy scary, or they're not experiencing the hairy scary in the world, right? Because they're just being distracted by something that's just going to make it so they can just ride the wave that way. But I don't know how that's possible, right? Because I think we truly are going to have some serious understandings before we're moved forward. I have no idea how or when, but we wouldn't be getting that pushed now unless we were getting close, right? I would like to move into the next stage of evolution. Well, not Cindy, not me, but those other parts of me, right? Right? Those ones that Cindy is optimistically trying to help along. And not just those other parts of me, but those other parts of you, right? Those other parts of you that deserve, that have worked so hard, those light in the darknesses, right? Those lights that are shining bright. And each one of us gets the choice, right? Whether to be the light, whether to be the dark, right? Sometimes you have to be the light in the darkness. Sometimes you have to be the darkness in the light, right? And you have to do with what you get. And that's true because, right, I know amazing, right? My sister Tracy is a darkness. But I see the light in the darkness. And she sees the light in the darkness, but right? She doesn't see that everybody sees the light. She just recognizes and focuses on the dark. With me, I don't focus on the dark. Oh, that's not true. I focused on the dark quite a bit yesterday. I was giving myself a little bit of heck for not getting that 1 year anniversary done, video done. And there wasn't any way that I could have got it done. I didn't even find the memory cards till today, right? But maybe I just need lessons in preparation, right? But those lessons would come across my path, and I'm sure that I would catch a lesson like that if it were to come across my path, and I would recognize it as a necessity in what I need to get done. Okay, one more card in relation to this 10-year anniversary. Thoughtfulness. Oh, you guys, this is such a great card for my 10-year anniversary. I think it's something that I've really come to appreciate because I was that person that always thought that the world was pushing back on me, right? I didn't push back, but I just felt it all the time, right? I was just like, again, oh, I'm down, oh, and I'm still, that's the way I took it, right? But, with those, as we talk about the lessons, that thoughtfulness, that contemplation, that time we spend by ourselves, when I go out to the country drives, right? When I was exploring the banding farms, when I was walking through the grass, I wasn't just creating YouTube videos. I was creating me, right? I was creating me. And somehow, right, we're going to send some good cheer. It wouldn't be a 10-year anniversary without, I live behind a fire station, sending out some good cheer. Hope they get to their destination and they have to turn around, go right back to their barbecue, right? That thoughtfulness to each one of us, we need to find that space. We need to find that time. And I know I got thinkers on this live for sure, 100%, right? But there's not a lot of us, right? It's just less and less all the time. And we need more people out there. And and this is a pep talk for myself, right? This thoughtfulness, this contemplation, and all these lessons and all this amazing information that, that I just like, I just like to spew it out all out there. But in my own thoughtfulness, which is the thinking, it is in that divergent thinking that I have, in that perspective that I have, right? That I have to be thoughtful in how I bring it to the table so as not to trigger, not to agitate, not to frustrate, not to infuriate, and not the most important one, to feel like it's misinformation. And that's where the belief in myself has to step forward, right? At the same pace as the courage, because I can run with that ball. I could drum up that courage. I could say, okay, you guys, all in. Cindy, hit that button. I could do that, right? But it's in that worry that information isn't clear enough. That information isn't secure enough. There isn't enough evidence to back it up, right? That somebody is going to see that belief that I might still be lacking in what I'm trying to bring to the table, right? My beliefs are what I'm trying to bring to the table. And it's that thoughtfulness in how I bring it to the table, right? And if it's going to be on the table, because in all that pivoting, I haven't pivoted in a while, you guys, but change is always happening. But I think that pivot hasn't come because I'm always changing and I'm always moving in the direction of that change. And because I don't need that pivot. This is what the way I'm thinking, because I'm going in the right direction, right? Because if I was going in the wrong direction, I would get that crank. I would get that, was that 180 or 360? The 180 is a new beginning, right? It's in the opposite direction, but you could still do another 180 and be in the direction you're just coming from. Or you could do a 360, which is right back where you started from. But if you started, it's impossible truly to do a 360 because you pick up at least one lesson along the way. And that takes away from the 360. Maybe you're at 340 or 320, but every lesson, right, will get you to that point in thoughtfulness where if you feel you need to make a change, you can do it without it being a jerk, without it being a yank, without it being a fight, a struggle, or a procrastination, right? Thoughtfulness. Okay, you guys, that's pretty good. For 10 years, it was the thoughtfulness because it has been the very last heavy topic of the past couple of months, right? Is in me taking my time and going slow and making the checks and the rechecks on everything to make sure that well, I got everything, right? And I know I didn't get everything. I could say, right? I did a good job. But each one of us in our choices, we're going to get what we get. And I didn't always make good choices, but I did the best that I could. And I hope the effort counts. Okay, let's grab my list. You guys, last year there were 3 things that I didn't get done on my goal sheet. I put way too many. I think I had 7 things on my goal. I did really good on the things that I did get done. But I didn't get a workshop or seminar done last year, which I wanted to do. I didn't get my dental done, and that was important for my basic needs to show Cindy, myself, right, that I'm taking care of myself because basic needs is something, right? I didn't care about myself, right? I was always for the moment, but to actually take care of myself, I would give up anything, right? And if it meant that I could make a little bit of movement with my well, I'm not going to say with my brand because I learned this before I even started my brand that I had to start treating myself good because I was falling apart. I was falling apart so bad and I was just watching it like a show, and I think probably that's why I was distracting myself with the gambling is because I really didn't want to see what I was doing to myself, right? And each time I went home with empty pockets and lies in my breath, right? Trying to explain where my money went, right? Making that video lottery terminal my best friend. YouTube saved my life, right? Literally, right? I don't know where could possibly be right now if it wasn't for YouTube coming in and offering me and guiding me, right? And well, motivating me because YouTube suggested the content for me, right? YouTube and their bots or whatever, how they keep track of the content that you're searching out, right? What you're learning, and then just helping you slowly by expanding on that, right? You get those little messages on YouTube that says, "Are you interested in trying something new?" And in your choices, you can hit that button, or you can say, "No, I haven't done with the lessons that I've had at the moment. Let's just finish this up before we go on to the next." That's just like crashing through, isn't it? Right? Just getting through no matter what. I'm not bypassing anything. I'm taking every lesson from this point on, and I have been for the past while. I'm not ignoring anything, right? I am probably missing things, right? Because I'm not paying attention because I am so busy in the hairy scary that I'm so focused in what's pushing me, right? That I feel that I need to push back. No, I'm not going to push back. I'm just going to adapt and conquer and find another way. You could just keep on pushing back there. I'll be over there doing something else, guys. Okay. So this year I thought I'd put that workshop back onto my list of goals because I didn't accomplish it last year, but I've changed it a little bit. I'm not sure if I want to do a workshop, right? I am my own person. I have my own message, and if I need to be inspired, right? If I need to be motivated, there are people online that I do look towards to get that need fulfilled. But there's something I'm very curious about, and it's in that the past, right? It's in my relationship with my father. It's some curious relationship aspects of that life I led, right? In that dynamic family. And I would like some answers in that. And so there is something I'm interested in trying because it was something, again, like the gambling that my dad was very interested in. And my dad was very interested in hypnotists and hypnotism. He'd read books. He would go see hypnotists. He tried to quit smoking by hypnotists. There would be auditoriums and stage shows, and he would try and get me to go up on stage to be hypnotized. My dad also was prided himself on being a little bit of a hypnotizer. He used me a little bit in practicing his skills in hypnotism. I do remember that as a young child and a young teenager, and so I would like to see. I would like to learn what that was all about. If it's possible that my father might have left me some message in what his interests were, or if he was implanting, if he was programming in me, if there was unprogramming in me. I would like to know that. It wouldn't have come to my mind. It wouldn't have been a curious aspect of things that I'm learning if it hadn't come across my path, and it's caught my curiosity, right? Right? What catches your curiosity, right? And that catches my curiosity. So I want to find out what that's all about. So I'm thinking I might try past life regression. Not because it's something that interests me, even though I'm compelled to try. It's only because as a child, you think as a child, you recognize and realize and understand as a child. I'd like to understand a little bit better. And I'd like to see if there's anything more that I could read into it. It might be important. It might be important. And if it's not important, then that's scratched off and I don't have to worry about that. And it would be a lesson for me to say, right? These things that you focus on all the time, they don't mean always that they mean something, that it's something that you're supposed to pursue. So either way, there's going to be a lesson in that. I need a new desktop computer. I have my laptop, but my computer's on its last legs. There's no memory left. It's done. It needs a new one. They're not as expensive as I thought they were. I would have accomplished that one first, but I'm already saving for the one that I had decided to do first, and that was the big one that I felt very bad that I didn't do last year. And you guys know it was my teeth, right? I needed dental work, and that's not taking care of myself. That's not taking care of my basic needs, right? Because I want to use that money for something else. That it was supposed to go towards my teeth, and I put it towards my vacation, or I put it towards something else. I think I put it towards my laptop. That's what I did. I got my laptop first. I was very glad, very lucky, very smart. It wasn't smart. It just hit me, get your laptop now. And I did. I researched it, I got it, and it's done deal. So happy. I couldn't imagine where I'd be right now if I had to had to figure out how to come up with a laptop or how to get my posts actually up there live, right? What kind of speed would I have on my old computer? Oh my goodness. So we're going to do the computer, but the first thing I am working on and make my appointment next week. We're going to start probably around the 15th or so. We're going to start the dental work, right? And I need the dental, and right? I got to be able to afford the dental. So I'm going to be saving money for that. I have already saved some money, and I've kind of budgeted in what income is coming in next month. And I jumped on top of my bills a little bit this month so that I could concentrate on getting that off my list. If I can get that one goal off of my list, I would feel very good. I would feel that I accomplished quite a bit on my goal list because it was something I struggled with last year. And I don't like to do things on repeat. I do lots of things on repeat. And, right? So I knew that that was something I could have and should have taken care of last year, but now I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take care of it this month if at all possible. This year, I'm not renting a vehicle, you guys. No question. We're done. And this is my promise to myself. We are buying a vehicle. What kind of vehicle? I don't know. We're just going to start saving. We're going to put ourselves on a little bit of a financial budget, and we're going to see what we can do for ourselves this year. Because not only are we going to, well, I am still going to do a couple of the Ontario parks, um, but um, but we are going to do some Manitoba provincial parks. We've only done one provincial park, and that was on my audition tape for Big Brother Canada. So we are going to give it a fair shot and see what Manitoba has to offer for provincial parks this year. And because I won't be spending all that money on gas, I spent about $1,500 on gas on last or this year's vacation. And the car rental, that was $2,200 too. So we're going to buy a vehicle, right? It might not be the best vehicle, but it won't be a beater. Why? Because I got to be on the back roads, and I need a vehicle that I can trust that can be on the back roads a little bit. So major goals this year. I need my personal computer, right? The desktop computer. I need to get my dental done. I need a truck or a vehicle for our summer vacation. And of course, the last one is my summer vacation, which is going to be a combination of a couple of close Ontario Provincial Park, meaning Sioux Lookout, and maybe we'll go back to Martin River. It was so beautiful. I love Martin River. It was really nice. Was it Martin River? There were a few parks that I really enjoyed, but there's a couple of parks that are only a few hours away in Ontario that we can go to. We'll do a few of the parks here in Manitoba. My season will not start until the middle of July. Reason being ticks, because I cannot control myself. When I'm out in the bush, I don't think about these things. I am just excited and happy to be in the bush. But then when I get home, I am agitated, frustrated, and a little bit freaked out by the ticks. So my camping season will start in the middle of July. In Manitoba, then we'll do a few parks in those close ones that are close to the Ontario Manitoba border, and that will make me happy, right? Because then I don't have to say I didn't make it to Ontario. I love Ontario. I think for the rest of my life, I'm going to want to do some camping and do some visiting and exploring in Ontario. When it comes to crystals and rocks, I got my big bag of rocks still sitting on the floor. I am not worrying about it, but I know it's sitting on the floor, and I will get that video done. I will put some attention on getting that video done, and I hope everybody will appreciate the rocks because I can't even remember what the rocks look like that are in that bag. I think there's even a couple of purchased rocks that I haven't even removed from the bag because I didn't realize it was going to take so long for me to get to it. Oh my God. September, oh wait, October, November, it's been 3 months. That bag has been underneath my counter for 3 months now. It's time to get that done. You guys, that is my next year plans. This is what I am goal setting as of right now. How well I do, that's going to be up to me and the choices that I make, right? So hopefully I can make some good choices. I've got a little jar down there, right? Every time I've got cash, right? Instead of that cash being trivial and being kind of wasted away, I'm just going to automatically throw it in the jar. If it happened that I need it, I'll grab it. But for me, in this moment, it feels good because to me, that looks like savings to me, right? But right now, we're just going to get this dental out of the way. I didn't mean to save that money, but now that I've started, let's start that. Every time I got some loose change, I find a quarter or a loonie, let's just start filling the jar up, you guys, right? And we're going to put that all towards my brand, right? Because my vacation is going to definitely be wound up and bound up with my brand. I adapt, I conquer. When I fall down, I stand up. I brush my knees off. I keep going. I never, ever give up. I am so grateful to be here on YouTube, right? I'm so grateful to be welcomed by my audience, the people who follow my content, the people who accept me for who I am and what I am, right? And being that divergent thinker, it even sounds really good. It just means think differently, right? It only means think differently. And you know what? Each one of us, we have that right to be who we truly, truly are. And some of us, we don't know who that is because we've been so enveloped by so many, right? That until we can recognize ourselves and recognize what's not ourselves, and that's still a ways away, you guys. That's not even in my next 10-year anniversary, maybe in my next 10 life anniversary. And I'll see you then. Hopefully, you guys will be with me then, right? No matter who you are, right? It takes all kinds to make the world, and that's what the world does not understand. They're not accepting of themselves. How can they be accepting of anybody else? But that's what we're working towards, right? We solve those problems where we can be more accepting of ourselves, right? And with those few lessons on our belts, maybe we'll be ready to add a few new lessons on our belts and we'd be more accepting of others, right? Okay, you guys. That's my good cheer. Everybody, have a great night. We'll see you, chatters. We'll see you on Sunday. Everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow on What's My Good Cheer, right? Just another day? Maybe, maybe not, right? You just keep moving forward at whatever pace that you can move at. And that's all you can do. I'm creating the best human being that I possibly can, right? I got lots of limiting beliefs, right? Lots. And I hack through them. I hack through them the best that I can. And I show up and I excel where I excel, right? And where I fail, well, that 360 is there for when I need it. And when there's a 180 coming my way, well, that's changed too. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you next time.